In this screencast, we're going to explain a little bit about focus groups. Focus groups are basically a structure where staff members across grade levels or across departments can collaborate together around one single focus. So how's a focus group created? First thing is, the teachers need to submit an area of interest to the principal. Some examples of this when looking at it through the lens of the Common Core are grand conversations around complex text, informational writing, interactive read aloud, or strategic questioning to uncover student thinking around mathematical concepts. So basically, these ideas would be submitted to the principal and then generated into some sort of a survey that could be sent out to all teachers, and then teachers then would go ahead and indicate, kind of rank what their preferences of groups are to join. Additionally, on this survey, teachers would also be able to indicate whether or not they would like to serve as a facilitator of a focus group. So what does a focus group do? After the principal has taken a look at teacher preferences, placed each teacher into a selected group, the first thing the group will need to do is identify a goal that was going to drive their work. Now, the focus group is going to stay together for at least one full year, and that whole year is going to be focused around that given goal. The goal will basically be set up as, what is going to change about my teaching between September and June? So if we take, for example, that last, illustration of what a focus group could be, right? Strategic questioning to uncover student thinking around mathematical concepts. The focus group may want to have a more specific goal in looking at questions that either extend or elaborate student thinking and using the continuum of mathematical development as kind of their framework as to how to utilize those questions and when and what types of questions to use depending on where the student is on that given continuum. So that could be a focus group goal, and so for the rest of their meetings for that year, what they're going to do is really focusing on those extension and elaboration questions, how they fit into different parts of that mathematical continuum, and then how do they use that to enhance their work with students in uncovering student thought. So now that the focus group has identified what their common goal is, the next thing we'll need to talk about is how do they actually meet that goal? How do they address that goal? The first thing they need to do is figure out when they can actually meet. And we'll talk about different options for this, but the recommendation is for the focus group to at least meet once per month. Next activity the focus group could do is identify who currently could they go observe who's been working with this goal for some time. So in going back to our example around strategic questioning, really looking at those extension and elaboration questions in relationship to the mathematical continuum of student thinking, one thing that they could do is kind of research who's been doing this work, what schools are they at? Are they at our school? And then let's take some time, let's take a half-day sub or let's take a partial day sub and go take a look at this actually in practice. Finally, one thing that focus groups have done to celebrate their work at the very end is to go into each other's classroom, take a half-day sub or a partial day sub, and the focus group would actually travel to each member's classroom and take a look at the great work that they've been doing around that focus area. This, again, of course, is an opportunity to share ideas and to actually see it in place. One question you may have is about the role of the facilitator. The facilitator does not need to be an expert in that given topic. Remember, they've selected this as an area that they want to grow as well. The facilitator, I strongly believe, should receive some sort of training in how to facilitate these groups. So at a given school site, let's say if there are 5 focus groups, those 5 focus group facilitators would participate in the same facilitator type of training. Because being a facilitator takes a little bit more time, right? There's going to be more emails probably to answer. You're going to be gathering resources. You're going to be setting the agendas. I think it's only fair to make sure that our facilitators receive some sort of compensation for the additional time and energy that they put into this. So finally, again, looking at what is the main role. The main role is keeping that focus on the focus. That's through agendas that are created collaboratively, collecting those resources, and really setting up some of the activities for their group. Another question you may have is where did the idea of focus groups come from? It came from a teacher leader who implemented it at his school, and based on that success, was able to share this work with other schools. This is just a list of school districts that have schools who have either tried focus groups or currently have focus groups in place at some of their schools. Okay, so I'm not a Jerry Maguire fan whatsoever, but we do need to talk about money, right? So you're building these PD plans at your school site. You have a certain budget. You want to make sure that money is used most efficiently and effectively as possible. So in terms of those monthly meetings, this is what it would take to do a focus group, to run focus groups at your site. Monthly meetings, again, at least once per month for about an hour. You could do this no cost if it's in lieu of a staff meeting. However, if you can't do that, you can go ahead and look at that workshop rate to budget those costs. The observing of a model lesson, this can be done in a variety of different ways. So the first phase, right, is the focus group's taking a look at someone who's already doing this in practice, whether it's at their site or another school site. So you could do a half-day sub for that. Also, you could also take a look at the teachingchannel.org. They may have certain videos that highlight those Common Core best practices that your group may be looking at. The final thing, or not the final thing, but the other thing in terms of observations is that celebrating our practice, right? So at the very end, all the focus group members getting an opportunity to take a look at each member's work around that specific goal. The sub rate is $115 per day. So in order to do something like that end of the focus group celebration, think of that as half-day subs for each focus group member when you're building the budget. Finally, we always want to make sure that we compensate those facilitators for their time. A ballpark figure is about $300 when they're thinking about answering emails and gathering some resources, setting agendas, those types of things for those monthly meetings. I hope this really answers some of your initial questions regarding focus groups. Again, if you have any other further questions, feel free to contact me in HR. Thank you.